Hey, and welcome to Trail Trials, the video review section of iRunFar.com. My name is Travis Liles, and in this video we're going to take a look at the PureGrit from Brooks. The PureGrit from Brooks weighs in at 8.9 ounces in a men's size 9. The PureGrit is Brooks' first journey into the minimalist type shoe for trail. Obviously, having a very successful shoe in the Cascadia, they have a lot of market that's probably looking for this type of shoe. So what makes it minimal? It's not really its upper or its midsole material, it's its ramp. And that is a 4mm drop going 15 to 11. So let's get up and personal and take a look at this shoe. So we'll start off by talking about the outsole of the shoe. So the outsole is a rubber lug, pretty consistent design from toe all the way to heel. The only changes in the lug pattern are going from a downward facing lug to an upward facing lug. And what that's just going to do is give you traction going uphill and traction going downhill. In the middle of the shoe, you'll notice this strike zone pod. And this strike zone pod is meant to give the user feedback on where their foot is landing. So if they're running behind midfoot, this is supposed to give you some sort of sensory so that you know to change your gait or to adjust and be a little more in that neutral zone. I'll say that when I was running in it, I didn't notice it, but when I'm standing, I do feel a little bit of just a slight something there. Kind of feels like a little bit of arch support just more towards the middle of your foot. So not something that necessarily got in the way of my foot strike. Probably the most interesting thing is going to be this toe portion up here. So you can see there's a split toe design, and the idea is to add some ability for your big toe to do some work. And you can see from the midsole a little bit that there is rock, there is some flexibility in there, and that those two things you're gonna get some independent movement and the ability to sort of push down more from one toe over the other. The thing I'll call out here is that area is exposed. There's not a rock plate in this shoe at all. So specifically in this area is where that might be a bit of a concern, is that if something was to poke in there, there's really not anything holding it back from pushing through the shoe. But this is a relatively dense rubber on the bottom of this, and then the midsole is relatively well cushioned for being as low profile as this is. So that will account for a lot of things pushing through the bottom or causing bruising and things like that on your foot. So we'll move up into the midsole, and we'll start off with the heel. And this is known as the ideal heel. And if you look at that heel pattern, you'll notice that it's not flat on the bottom. In fact, it's really, really rounded. And the reason behind that is to keep you from heel striking, because that would be an awkward way to land on these back here, because it doesn't jut out. So it promotes more of that at least landing in the middle part of your heel, and if you are to land there, it kind of rocks you forward, and that is, again, that's something that Brooks designed specifically to keep that natural foot motion happening. As we look at the midsole, we'll notice one single color of that green Biomogo all the way around. Biomogo is the environmentally friendly midsole material, so it breaks down faster than other EVA foams once it gets into the landfill. And again, single density, you're not going to see any posting or any wedges or anything like that is going to affect the way that you run in these, so you're not getting any extra stability or controls like that. The thing I will note is to look at the height of the inside, the medial part of the shoe, and then look at the lateral side or the outside part of the shoe. And what you should notice is that foam on the inside is just slightly taller, meaning that you have an angle that goes this way. So a lot of neutral shoes actually promote pronation because those neutral runners supinate or run on the outside of their foot. This shoe, having this be a little bit taller, just makes it a little more accessible to the rest of the population that may not have quite as neutral of a gait. So that's our midsole. As we move up from there into the upper, what we're going to notice is black mesh all the way across the shoe. So that's going to drain really well. That's going to let water in and water out. Underneath that, we have this kind of Swiss cheese looking foam. And you're seeing this more and more in shoes, and the goal of this is to create structure inside of the shoe. So creating this foam area is going to create a better wrap. It's going to create that foot from shifting around quite as much, but it's got the holes in it to keep it lightweight. So lightweight structure is done with this kind of skeletal system inside of here. As we move up into the laces, we'll notice this sort of sausage link type laces. You've seen these more and more on shoes currently. The goal here is again to provide laces that tie and stay tied. And what you usually see with this lace type is that when they do start to come on tied, they hold together longer, and that when they do come on tied, they're not just flapping away. They sort of stay in a ball or somewhat just loose on the top of your foot, so they don't end up flapping around behind you. As we look at the anchor points for where the laces attach, we'll notice down here at the bottom and on both sides we have an anchor point that connects towards the toe and then out towards the other side of the shoe, helping to create a wrap. As we move up the shoe, we'll notice a couple of things. So the middle bands they're just normal laces in the shoe. And then we have this thing called a Nav Band in the middle. And this is to promote a better fit of the shoe, more of a sock-like fit. If you look at other shoes in the Brooks Pure Project line, you'll notice this band continuing farther down and sometimes even all the way to the midsole or potentially all the way around the shoe. This just has it on top, and I noticed from my foot, and I have what I would think is a medium to even slightly wide forefoot. This band sort of stayed loose, so it wasn't doing much to keep the wrap on top of my foot, and it kind of got in the way of the laces. But if you have a wider foot or someone that gets foot fatigue from laces, this may be something that you can leave your shoe a little bit looser, and you're still providing some extra structure in there to keep that from keep the pressure off your foot while keeping the wrap on your foot. And then as we move to the second to top laces, you'll see this string here or little rope, and that rope connects through and then all the way into the back here. So this provides kind of a wrap, you can see on that part of the heel. So when you pull on that part, it really creates a nice wrap, and you can see that that comes all the way down, and that's existent on both sides of the shoe. And then lastly, you just have your normal laces at the top. So there's no extra laces beyond these. A lot of shoes might have one a little lower. You don't have that here. When we move into the heel cup area, we have a real heel cup, so you can feel structure inside of that, and that heel cup goes all the way over to this area here. So that is, again, structure in the back. And then that material is padded, and it's sort of a slick nylon type feel back here. Next up, we have the tongue. And the tongue is gusseted, starting about 3 laces down, and that's going to continue through there. The tongue is kind of interesting. It's a bit of a pod in its shape. So there's foam directly in the middle and all the way down to the bottom to where it stitches on, but all the outside of this is free of foam. So there, again, this is going to sit directly where the laces are, preventing fatigue. So you can see this is probably one of those weight-saving moves. And then lastly, we have an insole, just a standard insole, not much to it. Single foam, but it does have an insole, so if you have orthotics or something, and you still want to try a shoe like this with that low ramp of 4 millimeters, that could be something you could check out. So there you have it, an up-close and personal view of the Brooks PureGrit. What you've got is a flexible, cushioned, and somewhat protective shoe with some really interesting features like this split toe, the rounded heel, the foot pod, and the Nav Band. As always, any questions or comments, place them below this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.